Well, the pattern continues. If you could call it a pattern, you could also just call it teams who are chasing totals down very, very calmly. And once again, as we sort of did suggest at some point in time, Australia doing exactly the same with 18 deliveries to spare, 155 for three. It wasn't the worst total in the world posted by Sri Lanka, but once Warner and Finch had got off to a flyer, it was just a matter of taking them home. The pace bowlers of Sri Lanka in particular were no match for Warner, Finch, Smith, and later even Marcus Stoinis joining the party. 2 points for Australia, 2 clinical points for Australia, and suddenly they're looking like one of the two chief contenders along with England to be in that semi-final lineup. But we won't get ahead of ourselves. Rather than that, let's look back at this game on Cricket Live. Joy Bhattacharya, Harsha Bhogle join us. 3 overs to spare. You'd have to say, Harsha, Australia would be delighted with not just the 2 points, but the personnel who led them to the 2 points.
Dancing in the aisles, I think is the expression. Perfect game for Australia. Their fast bowlers did well. They enjoyed the extra pace from Sri Lanka. Warner got runs. Zampa is, it would be a great surprise to me if Zampa is not man of the match for that performance. Smith getting 25 balls in. Finch getting back to form. They couldn't have asked for anything more. Sometimes we say, if you had to write your own script, what would you do? They wouldn't have written this. It was that good for Australia.
Yeah, if anything, while the script was being written, Glenn Maxwell would have sneaked up and said, listen, you don't have to put that role for me in there. 1 over for 16 runs and get out second or third ball. So can you change that part? Otherwise, I'm okay with it, Joy.
Some episodes you only have a walk-on part. No. So some episodes, okay.
It's exactly like that. It's like a multi-starrer where one guy is like not really done great, but everybody else came to the party. And especially, I think it'll be really delighted that Finch and Warner came to the party, because that was looking like the weakness out there. The way they played the Sri Lankan spin as well, because as we predicted, they put on Thikana early and they Thikshana early and they managed to play him out. And the way they played him, I think, also sets a template. They attacked him, but not so much as to take any risk. 27 of 4, that means they got the respect, but moment they saw pace, moment they saw any advantage in the other side, they just went after it.
No, I think Joy was right first time. It was more Thikana than Thikshana, because they actually got the Thikana right as far as Australia were concerned, because we were worried from Australia's point of view as to those 4 overs. Could that mystery spin do any damage? Warner's reverse sweep, and they said, we know who this guy is.
Two Bangla boys from Kolkata living in Gurgaon and using Hindi expressions freely like that. Kya baat hai? But, just look at 3 bowlers in there only. It's very easy to pick which 3 if you look at the rightmost column. But even if you didn't know didn't see the rightmost column, Karunaratne, Chamira and Kumara, 8 overs for 100. Oh, they were, that extra pace for them was like lovely cool air after a hot day. It was everything that they wanted. I think I said on Combox, it was after living for a long time in a bubble, it was going home to eat dal chawal, literally for them. So I'm already starting to think of that. But the extra pace actually worked, because all this talk about Warner and Finch practicing on concrete wickets, because they just wanted to get their shape right, coming right. And now the extra pace actually worked for them. I know a lot of boundaries came off the balls where pace were taken off, but the extra pace initially just absolutely worked for them. And see how cleverly they played the guy they call Wavindu. 4 overs, 20 odd, 2 wickets. They played him beautifully, knocked around, didn't take a chance. Yeah, didn't take a chance and just waited for the quicker bowlers to come back. And isn't it interesting that the quicker bowlers who were blasting out the country's opposition in stage 1 suddenly became the obstacle today?
But I suppose what Harsha's just said, Joy, is kind of representative of these 2 bowlers bowling against lesser opposition, if I could use that term. And then when the standard goes up, you can see how different kind of batsmen deal with a Kumara and a Chamira pace.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, that's the point. The 140, 142, 43 is not going to scare people like this who are brought up on pitches like this. And if the ball is coming on, and there was substantial amount of dew, so anyway, half the problem is there already, that they're not really being able to. Spinners that really are not getting the grip they can. And then your fast men are just going faster and faster. And the faster they were, the more they traveled. And look, the other thing is that, again, like Sri Lanka, they didn't miss a break. That means they attacked you. Okay, they didn't wait for your loose ball. They attacked you. They went after you. They forced you to change your lane. And today is a fantastic day because two batting sides actually played brilliant cricket in terms of the way they structured their innings. Because I thought Sri Lanka also, for the whatever resources they had and the fantastic bowling against them, they structured their innings well. And I thought Australia structured their innings just as well, perhaps even better, given the fact that two guys who were not so much in form got into form as well.
I know Joy referred briefly to the dew, Harsha, but you'd have to say that Australia put the match beyond all doubt before the dew really became unplayable, if anything.
Look at the middle overs on that graphic. Sri Lanka's innings just slumped in the middle overs. They did very well on either side of the overs, but Australia had already done so well that they could just motor around and get 7.5, 8 in the middle overs. Also, I think in the first 7, 8 overs, they finished 3 overs of spin, 3, 4 overs of spin. So there wasn't a lot of spin left. And it's one of those rare Sri Lankan sides, as we discussed before, that there wasn't another slow bowler to go to. Their only other slow bowler was Dasun Shanaka, sort of slow, medium kind of bowler. He was the only other bowler they had to go to. Sorry, you're smiling. Was he in your... is your first pick, was he in your...
No.
How did you go today? Sorry, before I quickly come back to Australia. Did you have Warner? Did you have Finch? Did you have Zampa?
No, I didn't need them. I had Stark captain, Zampa vice captain, so I'm happy.
I love the way he said he didn't pick them. He said, I didn't need them. Anyway, but with most Sri Lankan sides, if you remember the great Sri Lankan sides of the past, Aravinda bowled, Jayasuriya bowled, even as recently the Dhananjaya De Silva bowled a little bit. So they always had someone who bowls.
And let's not forget Dilshan.
Yeah.
Even Dilshan.
Dilshan, and then he'd pop by and keep wickets for a while. But they always had someone to bowl a little bit if required. This team, what we thought was their strength on a day like this, has shown up a completely different story.
I suppose this is the time, Joy, when both sides would look at the next game coming up. For Sri Lanka, how do they look at changing things around? They've won one game against Bangladesh. Now they'll say, okay, it was better opposition. We came off second best, but we're not completely out of it yet. We've got a team like West Indies who look beatable. We've got England to come. Yes, good opposition. Can they change something around based on today's performance?
Your favorite player, bring in an offie, because I think exactly what Harsha is saying, that against associate sides, pace on the ball is useful. Against sides like this, pace on the ball in some conditions, especially the kind of pace of the ball they have, it's not flat out pace, but it's pretty fast, is actually a bit of a problem. So I really, that's the one thing I see Akila Dhananjaya maybe getting a chance, because they need perhaps another spinner out here. They need another spinner because 8 overs of spin is not doing it for them. They also need to do something that you can't predict, which is that they probably need to win a couple of tosses, because that is proving to be a pretty substantial factor as well.
It is. It's becoming. It's becoming almost. It's almost taking away from the game. Win the toss, win the match. You cannot do in such a big tournament like this, and it's starting to become win the toss, win the game, and that is something that, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. That's the way our game is structured, but it's getting far too skewed in that direction. If you notice, last year's IPL was a fantastic case study, because the last year's IPL started in very hot conditions, ended around now, a little after this. And you could see in the early stages of last year's IPL, win the toss, bat, win. And then somewhere about 40% of the matches were done. It started to turn. By the end, it was chase and win.
Yeah, well, people will be looking at games, all the evening games, particularly in Dubai. India versus New Zealand coming up in a few days' time. Is Virat Kohli sitting there and going heads, tails, heads, tails? Is there a way to practice? Maybe not. But again, it's just about hoping and trying to find a way to negate the toss, if there is such a way, by just putting 30 extra runs on the board.
When people used to play a gully matches, not when we used to play a gully matches used to have the most amazing hypotheses. And one of our captain would say, "Maya, zabardast toss practice karke aaya main yahan." I say, "Kya practice kar rahe aap?"
But Joy, we used to actually do that. If there was a situation where you have heads on top, there was obviously a theory that if it flips up, it'll come tails, or vice versa. So a lot of people went on that theory. Just have a glance at what it is. But now, of course, you cover the coin.
But listen, if you could put head up and get it to fall head, you must have created the perfect coin. It must be so difficult to create a coin that panders to your taste. Okay, I've put heads up. Don't tell anybody I've put heads up. It's going to come tail down. You can't create a coin that you decide which way it's going to fall. And then can you mind the skill in tossing it up? Don't get the coin to go that in there.
Well, the only
I think
reason
you
we
need,
are
what you
having
need is Amitabh Bachchan Sholay.
Two-sided coins, correct.
And have
the problem with a two-sided coin
that's
is
all.
if the opposition captain calls that, you got nowhere to go. Anyway, we are digressing as usual.
Yeah, we have digressed. We have digressed, and the only reason is we're just struggling to clutch at straws to figure out a way to win or to lose the toss, bat first in the evening game, and try and win a match. Let's see what it's done to the points table for Australia and Sri Lanka. Australia, as we expected, have just joined England on the top, little lower than them thanks to net run rate. England obviously have that superior rate after that 55 run chase. Sri Lanka have that one win, so they're just above Bangladesh and the West Indies, who will be clashing against each other. So one of those two are going to get to 2, and it's going to start to open up the room. It's going to start to open up the tournament a little bit more. Let's just finish with David Warner. Harsha, we had a brief discussion about him on CricBuzz Combox, but now that he's gone and really he didn't stay till the end, but form for himself, for Australia, for their fans, more than ticked enough boxes.
He'll buy Aaron Finch a drink today because Finch really took off and allowed Warner that little bit of time at the start. He will send a huge hamper to Kusal Perera. There was one shot that he pulled, which on the odd day the inside edge might go. For Kusal Perera, that was it was so difficult to drop that catch. Because, I mean, there it was coming into your gloves. He could not, the only way you could drop that catch is if you're not watching the ball. Only way to drop that catch if you're not watching the ball. So I don't know, I'd love to see another replay to see if he was not watching the ball. But he'll send a huge hamper to Kusal Perera. Sometimes you need that luck because, there's the other odd day when you're playing beautifully, one inside edge gets onto the stumps or inside edge onto pad, onto other pad, onto stump, and then you say, too bad. So you need these little moments. I think towards the end, he was timing the ball beautifully again. So biggest plus for Australia that he got runs behind him.
Yeah, it took a good catch to get rid of him finally, but maybe also a little thank you card to the quicker bowlers, Joy, from the opposition, that they allowed the ball to come onto the bat, which is to his liking.
Yeah, especially absolutely Nehru Kumara, and 16 and over for somebody who's quite a decent bowler was quite. I mean, they took really a heavy toll of him. But here's what I'm saying. I really believe the sound of David Warner again is one of those players who carries these really heavy bats, and all of us have seen that picture of Barry Richards showing a bat with which he used to bat with a bat that David Warner had, and David Warner's bat has that huge curve at the back. But today you could hear the crack. You could literally hear the crack when his bat hit the ball. And you somehow feel that, he's hitting it right now. He's getting those balls right, especially towards the end. Even the ball in which he got out, he timed it. He just probably didn't find the gap, didn't find the right place. It was not but you could make out towards the end, he was getting it right. And that's going to be a huge plus for him because batsmen, I've seen them in the nets, when they're playing the IPL and all that. Once they start getting it on the bat and they feel that thing, that's a confidence that even runs, they know that, okay, now I'm there.
Well, at the very start, we reminded you of a few, of not few rule changes, but the actual playing conditions as far as the IPL auctions are concerned. And we also said it was IPL building up to this tournament and this tournament building up to the auctions. And I think the first salvo has been fired. David Warner will be in the sights of several teams. Harsha?
I wonder when that's going to be, though. Is it going to be in January or in December, the auction? Because I think in November is the amount of time you have to announce your list of retained players. So they've got about a month. But if Warner keeps batting like this, I mean, in any case, Warner, if I was a new team owner, I'd be looking at Warner. And I'd be desperately hoping that other people were not showing interest because then I'd get him at a good price. But definitely, I mean, the advantage with these contracts is you sign a 3-year contract, but the extension after year 1 is at your discretion. So if he still has a bad season, you can always release them, sir.
Well, we did say that he wouldn't have celebrated too hard last night for his birthday because he has a match coming up. Tonight, I'm sure the party will be in that Australian dressing room to celebrate Warner and to celebrate Australia's 2 points. But plenty of cricket for Australia and Sri Lanka to play, plenty of cricket for us to review on Crickbuzz Live, because our next 2 games coming up, another doubleheader. It starts with Bangladesh against the West Indies in the afternoon. That's from Sharjah. And then the night game is match number 24. That is the neighbors, Afghanistan taking on Pakistan. Both should be fascinating contests. The latter will come again from Dubai. Win toss, chase, probably win. We'll find out what happens tomorrow night. Let's start with West Indies against Bangladesh, Joy. It'll be an opportunity for Bangladesh to say, yes, we didn't do well to start the tournament with, but here's a team. We can just put a little banana peel out there and let them do the rest.
Yeah, I think exactly right. I mean, the West Indies there are 2 things that have happened with the West Indies. One is that they're 5 years older from that fantastic 2016 side. And 5 years makes a lot of difference. And the kind of young players that they have, none of them, if you notice, are in the batting department. It's all there in the bowling department. There's Pooran there, but then Pooran, again, you look at him and what he's done right now, he's really completely out of it. Pooran is out of it. Hitmaya is coming to lose. And Bangladesh will just be hoping, though I don't think it's very likely, that Lendl Simmons is picked again.
That's a good way to finish that statement. Yeah, we've talked so much about it in terms of what he did and how he really damaged their chances there. But that one other name we saw on that list, Harsha, Jason Holder, it was highlighted in purple because he is the replacement player for the injured Obaid McCoy.
And I think they should play him straight away. Because, I mean, we go by IPL form, 8 matches, he took 16 wickets. But he's just a good bowler. I know that will mean they don't have left arm. It'll be virtually a right-hand pace attack. But there's nothing you can do about it. If you don't have one, you don't have one. So unless they say O'Shane Thomas got picked first, maybe the extra pace of O'Shane Thomas against Bangladesh, you never know the extra pace. But I think you just pick the better cricket. I think there's an opportunity to right a wrong. And I think he should have been picked in the team in the first place. So he just slots in straight away. He could even go in and bat at 5, Let Pollard continue 6 and continue 7. If they think Pooran's not quite pulling his weight, they can leave out Pooran, play Fletcher as the wicket keeper, and play Gale 3, Hetmyer 4, even Holder 5. That's very much a possibility. But this is an eliminator now. This game is already an eliminator. This is not such a long tournament with the double headers, in terms of days. Because if you lose 3 games, that means the best you can do is 4 points. I don't see 4 points getting you through, especially when 2 teams are already on 4. So this is an eliminator game effectively tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's probably, if we look deeper into it, it's probably more than just effectively 4 points. I mean, also remember, the 2 teams who are on 4 are going to play each other.
So one will go to 6, definitely. Correct.
One will go to 6, definitely. So it's going to be highly unlikely that you're going to see anyone on 4 possibly qualifying. So Bangladesh, West Indies, look sharp. It's going to be a very, very big game indeed. And Jason Holder, to finish off from Enjoy, we saw what the impact he had in these similar conditions for Hyderabad. And if he can do that for Hyderabad, he should be able to slot into the West Indies side just as easily.
I think he does. And I think that's the point. That this is a side that's obviously not got something right. Okay, if they play Jason Holder, look, they have all-rounders. They have Pollard is bowling a couple of overs, Russell's bowling a couple of overs. If they can get their team together, the other thing was that their spin didn't really work. Okay, and that's something they need to think about. There is a distinct possibility you might see Jason Holder. You might see Jason Holder and O'Shane Thomas both play, because they might just go with somebody with raw pace against them. And yet Jason Holder may be able to slot in the first 5, because I think he does a lot of stuff for them, which is very, very useful. I mean, he can definitely give you 3-4 overs. He can float. So, if you need pace and you've got wickets in hand, you go with Russell, you float Jason Holder. Look what Steve Smith did today. I mean, batted at less than a run a ball for most of his innings. But Steve Smith's job was just to be at one end while somebody else destroyed stuff in the other end. And I think Jason Holder can fulfill that role as well. And he can whack it. It's not that he can't whack it.
Yeah, they
Good
could
point
leave out
to
Hayden
finish.
Walsh. They could leave out Hayden Walsh.
Just
That's
given
another
that
part.
Bangladesh are a better team against spin. So they will have that dilemma. It is Sharjah, yet Bangladesh play spin well, but Bangladesh would prefer Hayden Walsh to an O'Shane Thomas coming at 145. So I think that's fairly a likelihood to get both Jason Holder and O'Shane Thomas into that side. Whether or not Puran stays is a matter of the management. For Bangladesh, do they need to make any changes? Because they haven't had the greatest outing since they've somehow managed to squeeze through the qualifiers. Litton Das is one worry for them in terms of form up the order, even though in the first over in the last game he showed that he can be in form. Shomo Shorkar is the one that they've left out. And he again can be an impact player, not just with bat joy, he can chip in with the ball.
I like Shomo Sharkar, but I think they're too invested in Litton. Litton gives them something which I think they believe in him as a batsman, as somebody who can destroy up the order. And they feel that he's a more attacking player than Shomo Sharkar. I think they'll go with Litton. Again, I think what is it? This is, as we were speaking, is a virtual elimination. So I think they're saying that, okay, let's put our best guys in the field. Let's see what happens from there. Do they need another spinner? That's something to be worth looking at. But I don't see Litton being replaced tomorrow.
We talked about hampers, didn't we, at the start of the program? You know, the hamper going to Kusal Pereira. Since you mentioned Shomo Sharkar, next time DK is on Crickbuzz, you can ask him if he's sending him a hamper a month.
Oh, this is for
Handing
Didias.
Shomo Sharkar a hamper a month.
Well, he's certainly sending hampers to a lot of people because DK now a proud daddy. So as a member of this Crickbuzz family, I think we should all send
Serious?
congratulations.
When did that happen?
Yes.
Must call him right
Twin
away. I'll call
girls.
him as soon as we
Yeah.
go off air.
Twin girls.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Or is it twin boys? Was it boys or girls?
They're twins, definitely. Was it girls? I thought
Well, the names are
one
out
of them
there,
was
so
It
yeah.
doesn't
Zian.
matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
There's babies in the
I
family.
think that's the best part of it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, lovely news for both Deepika and
Delighted for Deepika as
DK.
well. So happy.
Baby boys, Kabir and Zian. Kabir Palikal Kartik and Zian Palikal Kartik. I love the names.
Lovely.
And they look so happy. They look so amazingly happy. It's a wonderful sight.
Yes, and the only thing DK didn't do is in the photographs that he posted with them, he wore a very, very sober shirt. So I'm not the only one, Harsha.
And it's too late for you to have twins anyway.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't ever say
Where
that.
is this discussion headed?
I just
Sometimes we
please,
project our reality, I think.
But yeah, so anyway, DK, your many congratulations from the entire Crickbuzz Live family. But Bangladesh against West Indies, eliminator, throw everything at it, all possible resources that you could have in the 11. It promises to be an interesting contest because if Bangladesh can, they'll try and throw as much spin as possible at them. 2 games, double header from Sharjah. We'll head right back to Dubai down the highway for game number 2. Battle of the neighbors, Afghanistan taking on Pakistan. And with the kind of form, Harsha, that Pakistan are in and the kind of potential Afghanistan always have, it should be a really interesting contest, particularly if Pakistan bat first and Afghanistan maybe have that little advantage of the evening chase.
Yeah. I would like to see. Yeah, you're saying Afghanistan bat first, Pakistan chase, or the other way around?
No, the other way around.
I'd like
Pakistan bat
I
first.
wouldn't mind if there's no dew on a date that there's no dew. I wouldn't mind seeing Afghanistan bat first and really get off to a flyer, and then see if their spinners can strangle this Pakistan lineup.
Which they did in the last match. They put on 190 and they decided to bat first. I'm just saying, among the two sides, if the stronger side gets to do the weaker suit, it just makes for a better contest.
Yeah, true. But you look at the Pakistan bowling and you see the extra pace that Aris Rauf, that Shaheen Shah Afridi, as they've just got that extra pace about them, that it won't be easy for the Shehzads and the Zazais to get off to the kind of start they did, because this is an extraordinary pace attack. It'll be the one thing they look for in that game is for Hassan Ali to bowl 4 good overs in that game and come back, because he's a quality bowler too, but just at the moment a little predictable, a little hittable. They'll want him to come back and do well. So they have the potential, Afghanistan, if it was a sort of 130, 140 kind of game with the spinners, the ball really gripping. So, but they're the only team now left in the draw that can challenge Pakistan. So far, they've had everything going their way. Perfect first game. And from their point of view, for their progress in the tournament, absolutely perfect second game as well. So I just think Pakistan's pace will be they'll have just a little too much in their bowling.
Yep. Once they cross this hurdle, it's 2 associate games left, and then preparation for a semi-final, which in all likelihood will be a semi-final in Dubai for them. But we won't jump the gun yet. Let's just stick to what lies ahead. Afghanistan's point of view, on the assumption that we are saying Pakistan will go with pretty much the same 11, even the veterans have ticked all boxes. Afghanistan for you, Joy, any changes?
Difficult to say, because right now the kind of team they have, the way they've constructed it, they need there to see Rashid and Mujibur Rahman are basically the kingpins of their bowling, and they will be delivering for them. The problem is that their pace attack, they don't have anyone out there who's really going to threaten. Nobody. Look, with associate nations and with Afghanistan, who's now a full-fledged member, but they just don't have that kind of depth that there's somebody sitting outside who's really terrific, who's going to watch it. And my problem is that people like Mohammad Shahzad will struggle against a 145, 150 kind of bowler, Haris Rauf, or what Shaheen Afridi was doing up front. So I think those are the big problems. They will play their best 11, and their best 11 was the team that played last time. I can't see any direct changes on it.
I wonder if Hamid Hassan is fit. If he is fit, then he should have been playing ahead of Karim Jannat, unless he's there because Hamid Hassan has done so well for them in the past. But if Karim Jannat is playing ahead, and there was a little bustle about Karim Jannat in that 1 or 2 overs that I saw of him, I don't see them making any changes. Look, the batting doesn't need any change. The batting did everything that was asked of it. The reserve batsman is Hashmatullah Shahidi, who's sort of a Steve Smith kind of player, maybe not quite a slogger, who likes to get in from what I've seen of him. So I don't see them making any changes to the batting. Only thing for the bowling could be depending on the conditions, but they'll need that second pacer anyway. Because Gulbadin Naib as your second seamer is not enough for them.
Yeah.
So I don't see them make changes.
And also the 2 spinners, iconic of course, Rashid Khan, Mujibur Rahman, they'll know that they've just had a bit of a party against Scotland. So they'll need to mentally adjust to say that conditions there, opposition there, it's not going to be the same, boys.
Yeah, and look, a lot of these boys have played Pakistan and Afghanistan. The players at least have played a lot against each other. PSL, they played in PSL, they played in the T10s. So a lot of them know each other. These are not, Mujib and Rashid are not going to be surprises to the Pakistan team. And as compared to somebody like a Scotland and all, they're much more used to playing mystery spin, or even somebody like a Rashid Khan. So look, you're not going to get those completely off the chart results that a Mujib got last time. I think the teams, it really needs situation to go very well for Bangladesh for them to be able to compete, because their batting is not their strong point, and their bowling is something that Pakistan will probably play as well as anyone in the tournament.
Yeah, I think the only chance is if it's a slightly slow, dusty kind of pitch, which is unlikely, but it's a slow, dusty kind of pitch. Where's that game again? It's in
Dubai.
Check again. So if it's in Dubai, then it'd probably be on the same surface. I don't see them changing surfaces overnight. If it's on the same surface, then it's a lot of runs on that wicket. I thought their only chance was to play sort of 140, 150 games, start well, have a finish, and they just get their spinners to lock. If they get an early wicket, get the spinners to lock the Pakistan batting, then maybe the effects of a run chase. So, but I just think this Pakistan is too much for Afghanistan.
They certainly are. They've been playing confidently, and with 2 wins under their belt, we feel it should be Pakistan in game 2 and everything to play for in game 1 between Bangladesh and West Indies in a virtual eliminator. That's the double header we have coming up tomorrow. The only decision that hasn't quite been made today yet, Australia won easily, is the answer to the Joy Factor question. Joy,
Correct.
Can you resolve that?
Joy said it was very simple. Yeah, you said it was very simple.
Yeah, it's simple. It was simple. We all know that Mark Waugh made his test debut in 1999. This is, of course, simple for the guys who do it. I'm not close to the kind of people who can answer these questions. Who made his test debut replacing his brother in 2009? I think it was February 2009. It was March 2009. And it was Albie Mockle replacing Morne Mockle. And the interesting thing is just one test. He played just one test in his life. This was the test he played. So
And
the
guess where
second
Alvin
test
Morkel is
Morne
today?
had played. This was the third.
Yeah. Guess where Alvin Morkel
Yeah,
is today?
Namibia's assistant coach.
He's in the Namibian camp.
Yeah,
I
and not only
reckon,
that,
Yeah. I reckon Big Albi could swing his arm over and come and play for Namibia if he was eligible like David Visser.
Yeah, he could. He certainly could.
He could play for Namibia. His brother is playing club cricket. Mornes, she moved to Australia. He's playing club cricket in Australia. And I just feel bad for all the batsmen who are saying, oh yeah, this is a club cricket, weekend game. And suddenly you see 6 feet 6 inches of Morne Morkel descending on you. It's not a good thing to happen to you.
Yeah, there you go. So let's first find out, suspense, drum roll. Who is it going to be? Who's our winner of this half volley that Joy put out for us? And yes, if it's not Tanmoy, it has to be Cricket Nuffy. Manan Mehta has now started to become one of our regulars. So like we told Tanmay, Manan, remember, we love the word Nuffy, but very soon you two are going to be in that Hall of Fame and are going to get an honorable mention if you keep playing and scoring so many runs as you are doing. So look sharp, Manan, look sharp, Tanmoy, and look sharp, all you other quizzers. Joy, we need something a little tougher tomorrow.
I'll try my best.
Thank you.
Double header, I'll try my best.
Not that I got that.
Afghanistan, Pakistan, there must be some wonderful cricket history trivia coming out of Afghanistan that's not called Salim Durrani. There must be some trivia.
Yeah, the problem
there's always a connection.
It's not about the trivia. It's easy to get the trivia. My problem is the moment I write a question, I then try and Google it and see how fast the answers pop up. So the problem is about, how much can you stop people from Googling it as fast as possible? And that's the challenge. And there are amazing stories out there. But the moment you put a story that everyone knows the words to,
I was hoping that you would raise a question, Joy, which had something to do with a member of the current Namibian World Cup squad, and we use squad loosely, and then connect it back to the whole brother issue.
I was thinking of that. In fact, that's
I thought celebrated Kabul-born cricketer whose father coached a great cricketing dynasty in Karachi.
Salim Durrani is that, right?
Yeah.
And
So
then
he
played one unofficial test.
We're giving away all potential questions. Let's keep these under
but
wraps.
apparently there's a big dispute about whether he was actually born in Kabul or whether he was born while the convoy or caravan, whatever, was going from Kabul to somewhere. But colorful man, just as well.
I told you, history is never too far away. Different subjects are never too far away. Once we're off air, it's the kind of discussion we have for a while. But occasionally, we like to keep it going where all of you are in our company. Well, it's been a long double header. It's time to keep this fascinating discussion going for another day. Today, we'll bring it to an end with a quick thank you to both Harsha and Joy. And of course, to all of you for joining us once again. Double header coming up tomorrow again. Do join us on Crick Buzz Live. Until then, from all of us, it's good night.